I've got 5 broken Special Edition PlayStation 4s that I've picked up over the years. My goal in today's video is to have every single one working at the end of the video. Now, I don't think all of these are going to be fixable, but if that's the case, then I'll just use the case off of the Special Edition and put it onto a regular PS4 that I know is good. This video is sponsored by JLC PCB, more on them in a minute. So I keep getting an error on this PS4, so I'm going to try and reinstall the system software and see if that will get it working for us. If that doesn't work, I will first replace the hard drive and see if that fixes it. That's what I'm talking about. So this PS4 seems to be working fine. That's a great way to start out this video. We got a quick, easy win on this white PS4. I'll do a little more testing and finish setting it up off camera. But for now, let's move on to PS4 number 2. And for PS4 number 2, it's got a major problem. It will beep like it's gonna turn on. The blue light will come on, and then I hear some sort of noise from the back. One thing we can try on this is replacing the power supply. I think this probably is the classic blue light of death, but let's try the power supply anyway. And also it has 0 power to the disk drive. We've also got some sort of part taped on here. Let's see what that is. Okay, that looks like a gear from the disk drive. Okay, so let's worry about the power issue first, and then if we can get that working, then we'll move on to the disk drive. So what I'll do is just remove the bottom cover, then I'll try replacing the power supply with a known good power supply, and we'll see if that'll work. All right, let's see if that power supply fixed it. Ah, it did not. Bummer. Now when I took this top cover off, this power button was just kind of like laying over here by this touch sensitive button right here, this capacitive button. So I'm actually wondering if this was turning itself on and off with it just being loose here. You can have a lot of like phantom touches when this isn't solidly on here how it should be. So I put the power supply back in. Now I'm gonna plug it in and turn it on. Let's just see what happens now. Same thing. I'm gonna try tightening these clamp screws right here. These screws and this clamp keep pressure on the APU against the heatsink. PS4s were notorious for having the blue light of death, but if you tighten these up, or sometimes you can even put a washer under them, and that will at least sometimes temporarily fix the problem. Nope. So just for fun, let's see what happens when we add some washers under these screws. This is not something I would do if I was trying to sell a PS4 or something like that, especially without notifying the seller when that's the case. Just because usually, even if this does work, it only works for a limited time, and then it goes back to the blue light of death. The blue light of death is most likely caused by faulty solder balls under the APU, and this is just kind of a temporary fix to restore that connection. There we go. Let's see if that worked for us. Nope. Also, just for fun, let's see what our thermal camera shows. And I'm actually not seeing any really big hot spots. Now this is naturally going to be hotter because that's where some of the hot air is going through. But other than that, I don't see any major hot spots. That tells me that it's unlikely to be a RAM chip and pretty likely to be the APU itself. So here's the console we're going to use as the donor. It's the same model and it is working. So we'll just take the case off of this one and install the Special Edition plastics onto this console. These consoles that at some point had roaches in them are just disgusting. There's little pieces of roaches and roach poop, and they even cause rust to develop on any of the metal that they come in contact with. So it's just disgusting, and I'm super glad to get this one clean, especially because it's a special edition. I hate to see the special editions not working. Now that we have this bottom cover all clean and installed onto the PS4, it's time to take a look at this top cover and check out that power button, see what we can do to fix it. This piece goes on just about like that. So the problem here is this little plastic piece has been like broken off. This power button is just attached on here just using that plastic. So now I'm going to bring my hot iron in and melt this plastic piece over the metal. I'm going to try and do it on two sides, and that will keep this piece attached to this top cover. And now this piece is attached nice and solidly to the top cover. So now we can install this onto the PS4, then we can test it and see if it works. Okay, and this one's looking pretty good. It obviously still has scratches and scuffs on it, but overall, not too bad. I definitely can't consider this like a regular fix, but at the same time, we should now have a working Special Edition PS4. I'm gonna power it on just to make sure it works, then we'll move on to number 3. And eject button works. Takes the disc in fine, it is turning on. You can hear the disc spinning up and reading like normal. And we do have a picture on the screen. I'll do a little more testing on this off camera, but for now, let's move on to number 3. Oh, we got a missing power button. Okay, the eject button works. We'll power it on using the disk drive. Okay, blue light. Unfortunately, it looks like we have another blue light of death. This one actually has not even been opened before. Not that, oh, yes it has. It just made it look like it hadn't been opened. So now one important thing to note is this is a 1215 series PS4, and normally with the 1215, that washer fix that I showed you before doesn't really work. So we're not even gonna try it on this one. I'm gonna try replacing the hard drive just in the off chance that that is the problem. I think 99% chance it is a problem with the APU again, so we'll likely be swapping this case onto a known good PS4, but let's try that hard drive first and just see if that will fix it. And power, there we go. And once again, I don't see any specific RAM chip getting hot. So I am guessing that it is another faulty APU. So let's remove these covers and install them onto a known good PS4. Now that we have our covers cleaned and our recipient is prepared, let's go ahead and put the covers on and we'll see how it looks and try and turn it on. Okay, and there we go. This one actually came out pretty good. These covers cleaned up pretty nice. It does have some scratches here and a little bit of scuffing some other places, but overall it looks pretty good. Let's plug it in and see if it'll turn on. Okay, and we do get power. Let's try a disc. Okay, the disk drive works. And we also have the PlayStation logo up on the screen. So now we have a third working Special Edition PS4. I hope these other two are ones that we can actually do a repair on and not just swap the case on them. But unfortunately, these have just been sitting around my shop, and this is probably why, because they're not fixable, but they are special editions. With that all being said, let's take a look at number 4. Before we get to that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, JLC PCB. Not only does JLC PCB offer high quality manufacturing for your custom printed circuit boards, they also offer fast and reliable shipping, as well as things like purple and aluminum PCBs. In addition to all of that, JLC PCB also offers custom 3D printing services. Something you might not know though is JLC PCB offers free SMT assembly. So you can get your PCB manufactured from as little as $2 and have them assembled for $0. So how you get the free assembly is every customer can get $24 coupons for SMT assembly monthly. After any placed order, you will get 3 coupons, one for $9, one for $9, and one for $6. JLC PCB is one of the best places to go to get your custom circuit board printed, and after it's printed, you can just have JLC PCB assemble it at no cost to you. If you're interested in trying this free assembly service, I'll put a link in the description that'll take you right there. Now let's take a look at this Uncharted Ps4. And number 4 is a really nice Uncharted Special Edition. This actually looks basically brand new. I don't see any problems on, oh, here's one scuff mark down here. Let's plug it in and see what's wrong with this one. Okay, the eject button works, so let's try power. Oh, that's not good news. So we got a blue light. Normally when I've encountered the 3 beeps right after startup, it indicates another, basically the blue light of death sort of problem. Unfortunately, this may be another case swap. I was hoping I'd be able to actually do some more repairs on these, but unfortunately the blue light of death and the 3 beeps are things that the PlayStation 4 had a lot of problems with, and unfortunately in many cases just aren't fixable. Now there are some times when you can remove those chips, put new solder balls on, and put the chips back on, and sometimes that will work, but that's not a guaranteed fix, and so I've never really gotten into that. So these 3 right here are the warmest. But again, there's just no way to know for sure which one, if any, are faulty. So I'm not gonna do all the work to go through and replace all 3 of those when I don't even know for sure if that's gonna fix it, and it likely won't fix it. I do wanna note that all the parts and tools, including the thermal camera you just saw, are included in my Amazon links in the description. Now we have a nice clean case. I'm pretty sure this plastic shell is brand new, very, very close to it, if not. So I'm going to install that onto a different PS4. Let's try the last PS4 and see if there's actually a repair we can do there. The Star Wars Special Edition had a note on it that said I've tried to replace the laser on it in the past and that didn't fix it. So I'm going to put a disc in and let's see if it'll read. Okay, so it just ate my disc and won't even push it back out. Okay, and now time for the best part. Let's take it apart. And look what I found. We've got some liquid damage. So on this one, I'm just gonna disassemble the entire thing so we can check this side and the other side of the board. And then we'll also need to check out the disk drive itself. And would you look at that, the perfect amount of thermal paste has already been applied. Obviously, I'm the one that took this apart last. I'll still clean it up and put new thermal paste in just because I have removed the motherboard and this has been sitting around for quite a while. I don't see any other liquid damage, so let's take a look at the other side of the board and see if we can figure out what's going on. I don't see any other places on the board that have liquid damage, so it looks like it's been isolated to this area. So obviously the primary places I'm going to be looking is right up here in this chip and these components, and then down here on this chip and these components. The other side of that same part of the board looks perfectly fine. One thing I want to do before I get into too serious of testing here is I want to rule out the disk drive itself. So I'm going to plug a known good disk drive onto this motherboard and see if that disk drive works. If it does, then I know it was the disk drive that was the problem. If not, then I know 100% that we've got a motherboard problem. Now we have it together enough to test. Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. This means we have an issue with the disk drive. Now, I could just leave this disk drive in it and call it fixed, but I want to see what's actually wrong with the defective disk drive, so I'm going to get that out and let's tear it down and see what's wrong. First, I need to get my disk out of this disk drive. And there we go. Now let's take a look at the faulty drive. So there's not too many things that could be going on with this disk drive. We know mechanically it's probably fine. It seems to be pulling the disk in just fine. So that leaves this motor, the spin motor, and the laser. I think my notes said that I've tried replacing the laser on this already, so most likely that's not the issue. I wouldn't think that it was anyways, because the problem that it seems to be to me is that it's not spinning up. So my first suspected problem is the spin motor. In order to get to that, I'm gonna take the top off, then remove this carrier right here. And right here we have the spin motor. Now normally if I'm doing a repair like this, I would just replace this whole carrier as an assembly. But in this case, I wanna make sure you get your money's worth on this free video you're watching. So I'm going to replace this spin motor separately. First, I'm going to desolder this cable right here. This cable goes to this motor right here that makes the laser move back and forth. So I will desolder that. Then I will install a new spin motor and solder these points back on. Then we'll put it back into the disk drive and the disk drive into the console, and then we can test it. Now I'm just going to check for continuity on each joint from this point to the point up here. This point is connected to the board. This point is connected to the ribbon cable. That will tell me if the solder joint is good or not. Good. Good, good, and good. So all those joints are good. Now it's time to put this back in the disk drive and put the disk drive back in the console and see if it works. Okay, back together enough to test, but is it gonna work? Still turns on, that's good. Pulls in. Oh no. Still no spin. As I was disassembling this again, I noticed something that didn't look quite right. Can you see it? This ribbon cable is actually upside down. It needs to go like that. I can't believe I missed something so simple. Let's see if that fixes it. And is that one little upside down ribbon cable gonna fix this? I still can't believe that happened. This thing's been sitting in my shop for so long. Let's see if it's gonna work now. Pulls it in, and it's spinning up. No way. So that was the only problem with this entire disk drive. I can't believe that I missed something like that for so long. If you like this type of video, I think you're gonna like the video where I tried to fix a broken Taco Bell Gold Special Edition PS4. I'm gonna put that up on your screen now so you can come hang out with me over there and see if I could fix that. Thank you again to JLC PCB for sponsoring this video. As you can see, Horizon Zero Dawn is installing in the background, so this PS4 is fixed. That means that we at least fixed one of them, and we were able to swap some shells on the others, so we do have 5 Special Edition PS4s at the end of this video, which is what I was hoping. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good one.